Zombie apocalypse. 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 Zombie apocalypse.
All right. Thank you all for joining us for our annual Festivus gathering. Unfortunately, circumstances this year prevent the fantastic get-togethers we had previously, but hopefully our next celebration will be in person. This past year has been a time of many, many changes. Doesn't seem like a year ago we convened a formal committee and welcomed Tony Bogan, Andy Diller, Chris Falla, and Adam Michelin onto it. They have brought their passion for vintage computing and their commitment to VCF. Working. Nobody can hear me.
Yes, it's delayed, you guys. So you gotta. Dean has already
You're
started
muted.
talking.
You're muted.
There's 30 seconds delay, so you gotta realize that. You're on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, everyone. We thought we were having audio problems here. Anyway, our members are working to constantly improve our warehouse and ongoing operations, as well as outreach to other vintage computer museums, such as System Source and Kennett Classic, among others, locally and globally. All for the purposes of furthering our mission of preservation and education. And I think with the help of our members, they've succeeded very well in doing so. What we'd like to do is first have some of the highlights and accomplishments from the past year here.
You want me to mute him?
So some highlights here and accomplishments from this year.
But you're muted.
I am. Oh boy.
Oh,
I see being muted.
Doug should be muted.
All right, there's an issue here. We got people in the background talking. I'm muted apparently. People in the background are talking. It's very distracting.
Yeah.
So everybody has to
I'm muting.
stop talking.
I'm muting. Muting. Corey, you gotta mute. We can't have you talking right now because it's distracting Dean right now. Everyone has to be muted.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone. So again, here are the highlights and accomplishments from this past year. Our museum floor was redone. It's never looked better. Thanks, Corey, for a lot of the hard work that he put in for that. We added displays to our museum racks, so now we have them safely mounted, and we can demonstrate the computers in action. It's gotten very positive response from our visitors. So, again, thanks, Corey, again for initiating that and putting a lot of hard work in for that. We've had many volunteers, mostly coordinated by Adam and Tony, to help clean up and organize the warehouse. As well, we've got some artifacts out of the warehouse and into places they can be better displayed, whether it's in our museum or another. So that's a very positive outcome. It's been a long process, but with the help of a lot of people who have a lot of subject matter expertise in the different areas of the warehouse, it's much more organized now, and there's actual free space to get some incoming artifacts, and very, very good, very nice development, and this will set us up for the future to make more improvements to the warehouse. Tony, Jeff, and Corey did a great job of creating some mid-'80s exhibits that really reflect what a retro setup looked like in a typical office and a home. Again, very, very good response from visitors on that. Very big thing this year. Jeff Brace produced and ran an amazing virtual VCF in October, despite never having done anything like it before. So we really thank Jeff for that. Couldn't have been done without a lot of technical help from Andy in getting the show streamed, and help from other committee and board members and volunteers who committed their time and expertise to delivering a great VCF East despite all the challenges. Thanks to Adam for the great social media marketing work we did as well, and that he'll continue to do as VCF's National Social Media Director going forward. And also thanks to Eric Klein for doing a virtual VCF West ahead of our VCF East and letting us learn from his lessons and getting us some great tips. Andy created an artifact checkout system for us that tracks chain of custody of our artifacts, so it gives us a lot of flexibility, letting our membership take artifacts to work on them outside of workshops. Especially now with COVID going on, this is a great help, and it really helps us move forward. This will give us a fresh supply of computers that we can use to rotate exhibits more often and keep things fresh. We also this year recruited new docents, Bill Interreden and Dennis and Dylan, giving Jeff a much needed break. So that was a very, very good development.
Did you want your video off?
Um,
I'm on the other camera, but yeah, it's okay. Oh, he's got the other. You're on the
Yeah,
other camera.
I'm on that camera.
Okay.
We worked with the computer deconstruction lab here at InfoAge to add vastly superior networking to the museum over what we had. And again, thanks to Tony, Andy, and all the other volunteers coordinating and working with CDL to get that done. As well, VCF held its first of what hopefully will be annual swap meets in early November. The weather was really cooperative, and we had a great turnout. It was a lot of fun, and again, we hopefully will do that more than once a year going forward. We did receive a donation of a never unboxed Wang mini computer, which is very exciting. Bill Interreden had done a great job getting it running. As well, Ian Primus, David Geswine, and others have been a big help in getting our Xerox Star operational. Quite a coup. They're very rare. I don't know that there's another operational machine in any other museum. And thanks especially to the Computer History Museum in Mountain View for helping us source the correct mouse for it. And again, for Ian interfacing it and making it work. We added UPSs to some of our more delicate artifacts in the museum, such as the PDP-8 and the Star. We'll also be putting more machines on there that need to be soft powered off and don't react very well to a hard power loss. We created a charter this year that codifies our mission, responsibilities, operational procedures, bylaws, and governance. This is a living document that will continue to be refined and expanded over time, hopefully with the input of our membership. And finally, among the many other activities, VCF Mid-Atlantic successfully held our first committee membership election. Thank you to everyone who participated, both people who voted and people who ran. We will be announcing the results of that election a little bit later. So the next thing to talk about, just briefly mention our steering committee plans for the future. We will continue our outreach to other computer museums and organizations, again, both locally and globally. This really helps the hobby as a whole, and it's going to help us with our museum, help others with their museum, and hopefully get these artifacts in circulation and seen by more people. As usual, we'll always work on improving and expanding VCF East. We'll have to see where the future takes us there. We are working on a plan to be able to maintain unique artifacts such as a UNIVAC, where we have the situation where spare components and the expertise to maintain them are becoming increasingly rare. So we're really trying to record, archive, document, learn everything we can about these systems so that we can maintain them going forward. We're also working on building an 80s style disk duplication system to keep a stock of system disks and software, not just for VCF artifacts, but for anybody who could use them. I think it's a great service. We're working on improving the museum signage as always, inside and out. And the big thing we're going to be working on this year is planning for VCF East 2021. We'll be making a decision whether that will occur in April or in the fall as of February. The other development is a warehouse improvements and fundraising efforts for fixing the roof, ventilation, lighting, and of course continued cleanup organization, as well as creating potentially a photo shoot area to help better document our artifacts. What we're hoping is that we can get all this done and we could actually turn the museum into an actual extension of the museum, the warehouse and extension of the museum, potentially letting visitors tour. Perhaps we could get somewhere a big iron over there. It'd be a better place for it. So now what I'd like to do is throw it over to Corey for a financial update for VCF.
Promote, the idea of vintage computers through education and we are working on a lot of things related to that, going forward. So, once again, thank you for everyone who supported us this year, especially in this tough time with COVID, because we did not have any money making shows. So every show we put on, even VCF East, and VCF West and Pacific Northwest, those shows cost money, and your donations help us put on those shows. And because they were virtual and we couldn't charge admission, we thank you very much for helping us still able to put those on. I think that's the majors, other than telling you that, excuse me, that if you want to volunteer as well, if you've got, teenagers or college students who need volunteer hours for InfoAge or for one of the shows, if you're in the New Jersey area, when we have a show back on the West Coast, when all this COVID stuff is done, if you're in the Bay Area, let us know. We do and are allowed to provide volunteer letters as well. So that's actually how one of the ways we got the floor done in the museum was volunteer letters. My son, one of my kids, had to have some charity hours, and there you go. You got some charity hours doing an epoxy floor. So I think that's about it. And Eric, did you want to say some other things since you're back on, or?
I mean, the highlights of what I was saying, the main highlights fall under the heading of our board changes. I'd like to reiterate the announcement that Mike Brutman, who had been on the board for quite some time, has departed the board. Part of the reason for that falls under the heading of the COVID-caused closure of the LCM, so the Living Computer Museum and Labs up in Seattle, which was hosting our show, which was the venue for our Pacific Northwest show, has basically shut down. We're not sure if it's permanent or not, but we suspect that it is. Without a venue, Mike didn't have a show, and without a show, Mike didn't feel the need to continue on the board. That's part of it. There's more to the story, but Mike was a great asset to the board and did a ton of stuff. With Mike's departure, Bob Roswell has joined and is a member of the board as of this week. So welcome aboard. I'll give you a chance to say hi and introduce yourself to a bunch of people who already know you anyway. Other than that, the board continues to do what it does. We're sort of the overview organization or oversight of the organization. We're trying to expand vintage computing worldwide into everyone's homes and garages, of course. And we've got, I guess, what you would call sort of a 5-year plan for expanding the influence of the Federation, getting more into education, getting more fundraising done, expanding the museum, expanding our shows, and so on and so forth. We also host all of the shows. We've lost PNW, but we're still very closely associated with VCF Italia, and we run East and West. And of course, we run the forums and so on and so forth. And since I brought up the forums, Mike was our administrator and main moderator on the forums. Corey was talking about volunteers. If there are volunteers that like to do their volunteering in their desk chair, please let us know. We're always looking for enthusiastic moderators and even some folks to administer the forums. Those things take a fair amount of work. There's a lot of posts that go into queues and so on and so forth that we'd like to get managed. And with that, I'm going to toss it over to Bob just to welcome him to the board and to say hi. You got to come off mute, Bob. Oh, there we go.
Yep. Hi there. I'm Bob Roswell. Obviously a computer enthusiast. Always loved my first 2 computers. How many of you have used the plastic Digicomp 1 3-bit computer? Corey and Dean are nodding there. Whoop, Eric's going to go pick one up. And then, of course, my second computer was the Digicomp 2 with the rolling balls. And if anyone wants to play with it virtually, you can find it at our Computer Museum website. So I got those in the early early 1960s. Oh, hold it so that the glare is not there if you can, Eric. I can't see it. The glare is on it. Oh, there's a Geniac. Similar era. I got my degree in computer science. Chased a girl in the summer of 1980 who was working in DC, and I got a job working at Computerland number 7 in Rockville, Maryland. So we were working on IMSIs and Krememcos back then. Called up my buddy Maury, said, let's do this. So we bought the Computerland franchise for Baltimore and ran as a Computerland for a decade. Long story that I won't go into now, how we got out of Computerland, changed our name to System Source. I purchased my initial inventory for the computer store just before IBM announced the IBM PC. So by the time we got open, IBM PCs were available. So no one ever bought our wonderful S100 machines, the Xerox 820s and that sort of thing. So when the time came, we had some extra space, and I made a little museum down in the basement of our store in Baltimore. And then we moved up to Hunt Valley and now have a pretty decent museum, not quite on the scale of yours out west, but it's getting there. So we love having people in. And over the past 6 months, I've been working on a lot of virtual activities. So that's about me. I'm real exhibited at various VCFs over the years. I'm glad to join you guys. Any questions?
So I've got generic questions about this whole Festivus thing. Since this is my first Festivus, I'm wondering when we get to feats of strength and airing grievances and so on and so forth. I'm curious.
I think that might be my cue, Dean, right?
Yeah, I think we have had our fill of airing of grievances for a while. Yes, thank you very much. So I think we're gonna skip that this year.
Well, no, we've renamed it, right, Dean? Questions, concerns, and comments from the membership. Questions to be answered.
Oh, right, yeah, we get out the Festivus poll and just dance around it. But
Are we ready?
there's our mascot.
This is tech support. Chicken. Eek, eek.
Yes, welcome.
He didn't help too much.
Dean, are we ready for questions?
Let's see. Yes, we are. Adam, thank you. Adam now is going to help us field some questions, concerns, comments from the membership. Everyone feel free to please raise your hand on the meeting, or you can type your question into the chat.
And let me talk about a little bit what's going to happen. One of the overriding goals we have as an organization is communication. And we haven't always been good about that. We're trying to improve. We've evolved the airing of grievances to the more formal questions, concerns, and comments from the membership. But to be absolutely clear, we want to hear from you. If that means you want to say we're doing a good thing, we love to hear that. But if we're doing something you don't like, we want to hear that too. You can put it, if you put in chat, I will see your question and then direct it perhaps to the right person. So you can ask specific questions or make a specific complaint, or you can make general complaints and general concerns.
So I just want to mention that this all comes about for a long time. There was a lot, and I say even the pre-organization when we were March, people asked questions and they weren't always given straight answers. And we started, it was either last Festivus or the year before, I forget which, started kind of an AMA kind of a thing. So ask me anything. And, we thought it would be 10 minutes, and we wound up having some very nice hour or two long discussions about a lot of things.
But we won't necessarily make this that long, but we do.
No, we won't make it this long because people had a lot of questions that hadn't been answered.
And he just left the room.
Right. But the point is, we're doing this because you guys are not just our community, you're our friends, you're our vintage computer family. and we really want to make sure that everyone's questions, concerns are answered, and really want to be straightforward with you guys. So ask away. And
sorry to interrupt. We have a great first question. Unfortunately, he just left the meeting. And the first question, which Andy, are you available to answer a question?
He's trying here.
Sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yep.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
Eric Rangel asked this question, but he disappeared. He might be having technical issues, but it's a great question. I just don't know if I want to wait for, well, let's just go ahead and go forward. So Eric asks there he is. He's back. Perfect.
Yeah.
Just like we planned it. Eric asks, how is the artifact inventory system working out? I think you can best speak to that.
Okay. Oops, let's see. I would say it's working out in two ways. First of all, it's working out nicely. We basically have a provisional inventory system using Airtable so that we can quickly enter things that come in to the warehouse and kind of do like a pre-triage, right? And just figure out what we're going to do with it, where it fits in, and sorts like that. The longer term goal is the collective access. And that is a, oh yeah, and Bob, I can let you talk about, if you have some time, Bob, I'll hand off to you after I'm done, because the collective access is the long-term goal. And basically it's a much more sophisticated, much larger system that still needs a little bit more stand-up time, but it is the one that will ultimately allow us to have not only a full inventory, but things like images of those. And it basically can kind of scoop up your inventory and create a virtual web museum for you of those. So it's basically like those two-phase approaches. As people probably know, we've been talking about this for a long time, so we decided just to put the foot down and use Airtable so we can actually just get some things into the digital realm, and that will all be imported into the collective access later. The last thing I'll say about collective access before letting Bob talk about how he's using it is if we are using the same schema as System Source, which we plan on, it makes it very easy for basically items to be loaned and moved around kind of within multiple locations. So it actually can benefit not only just VCF, but other local institutions if we can get them to also use the same system. All right, Bob, do you want to say anything about how it's going at your place?
So it's going slowly. Most of us entering things into inventory is not my favorite. My favorite is showing people around and telling stories and hearing people's stories about the artifacts. After that, it's getting things working, and inventorying is not my favorite activity. So I do have one day a week person who's going through our inventory. It's slow going. The software itself, I selected after reviewing 5 or 6 of the systems out there. Past Perfect is probably the most popular museum management system. It's used by another museum I'm affiliated with. But having used DBase Fox Pro for a very long time and fighting it, I just could not imagine putting in a new system that used DBase as a backend all these years later. It also just didn't have the extensibility that I was looking at. So collective access is free. It's open source. The programming of it is, I believe, in PHP, but it uses a ton of libraries. You can modify it and bend it to your will, but it takes time. If anybody wants to get a login to our system, shoot me an email. You can find me at the System Source Museum, museum@syssource.com, and happy to give you a login so you can play with it, contribute to it.
Awesome, Bob. Thank you so much. Eric, does that answer your question? Do you want to follow any follow-up questions? Okay. Well, we'd love to have some more questions from the membership. While we wait for that, I will make sure everybody understands that Airtable is just a cloud-based database that was inexpensive and allows us to do two things: put the data in the cloud, but most importantly, put it in a format that we can ultimately export into almost any other system. So the goal is to just get started. This has been a project of my love, because what I started doing was getting rid of all the extras of stuff. Because when you've got 24, Commodore floppy drives, you don't necessarily want to have to inventory all 24 of them. Questions. As a teacher, I always say that when there's no questions, that either means everybody understands or nobody understands. So when I hear no questions, that means either that everybody's happy or nobody's happy and wants to express that they're unhappy. Somebody express that they're not happy. Somebody complain. Jason, I'll put you on the spot.
If we're all equally miserable, isn't that kind of a good state to be in?
So where would you suggest that they email if they're watching the stream later?
That's a really good point. So we want to be accessible. I know, Tony. Right back at you. So you can email. Jeff? What's the email address if they want to email all the steering committee members?
Oh, if you want to do steering committee, hold on. Steering _ VCFMA at vcfed.org.
Can you do us a favor? Type that into the chat.
Yeah.
So that will go to all the active steering committee members, which until tonight would have been me, and as of tomorrow will not be me. You could also email us. Almost everybody is first name dot last name. You can also email us additionally, because one of the things I know is people don't necessarily want to complain in public. But we really do want to hear your complaints. We want to hear your suggestions. And please know, if you have an idea, you can take that to any steering committee member. We have now a formal organization where that steering committee can champion your idea. They can then put it out for the rest of the steering committee members to discuss, and we can formally vote on it. So you can go directly to one of them. You can go, if you don't feel comfortable going to one of them, you can send an email to all of them. But we really, really want to hear your concerns, your questions, and especially, most importantly, your ideas.
We have a question on the YouTube stream here.
Sure.
Regarding the warehouse roof, how is that being addressed from a financial perspective?
I think that would be a Corey question. And Corey is muted.
Corey is unmuting, and I think Tony Bogan may need to chime in here at some point. So technically, the roof is our landlord's issue. But I believe that they are going out and trying to get estimates on that. There are some aspects of the roof which we'll take care of, but for the most part, it does belong to it's a landlord thing. Tony, is there anything else you can add to that? Tony? I know he's there. He was complaining about Adam.
He may be typing only.
Oh, he might be typing only?
Yeah, I don't think he's
there, but he may be indisposed.
Okay.
He's on his boat.
So, so that's pretty much what I can say is we know that it's actually the responsibility of our landlord. I have a feeling that we will probably work with them. There may be some aspect of the financials that we have to pay for, but once again, that's the first step, is getting the building tight before we start drywalling or, hooking up HVAC. So it's in the plan that it's got to be that's like the milestone before we start putting money in.
And Corey, maybe you can speak a little bit about the concerns about the lease length, because there's a lot of different information going around.
Yeah, so maybe to be clear to people, remember we said we're going to tell you what's going on. So obviously most commercial leases are 10, 20, 15, 30-year leases for commercial. And the reason why is generally if someone is going to invest in a building, they want to make sure that their investment isn't given to the next tenant without them having a chance to use it. And so, anytime you guys see someone working on a store, right? They've just moved in. They have a lease basically to protect the fact that they might be putting thousands of dollars in before they actually even start business. The leases currently with InfoAge are not designed about the organizations investing money. However, there are some organizations which have gotten longer leases, very similar to a commercial lease, like 10-year leases and things, which makes it much more palatable to put money into something. You always hope at the end of that 10 years, you get another 10 years, and you try to be a good tenant for that reason. But our current lease, I think, expires in a year or two. So obviously, unless we get a longer term lease, we're not going to invest in anything that can't be unscrewed and taken away. Right? So I'll give you an example. We got donated and, a whole bunch of HVAC units, which are portable. They can be removed. Thank you, Jason Perkins, for setting us up. Obviously, the cost to run those is higher than if we take the already existing ductwork, which is already in the building, and put in a proper HVAC built-in system. But if we don't have a long enough term lease, why would we invest that kind of money? We would go with the portables, even though the cost to run them is more, because we could always take them with us if something happened. That's the kind of example. Okay. So we are working on it. There are other groups who I think come before us because their lease expires earlier. And they're working on a similar kind of a thing. And based upon what happens with them, we hope to get the same kind of commitment, and we're willing to put some skin in the game and do some work on the building.
Okay, thank you, Corey.
Sure.
Any other questions? Again, I want to reiterate, this is the beginning of the questions, comments, and concerns. You can think of the entire year as questions, comments, and concerns. We want to hear from you. Anybody else would like to air any, I will use the old term, air any grievances, one last shot for this event at least? Because I think what everybody's waiting on is, Dean, are you ready for the big announcement? I will just say real quickly, I'm so excited about this. When I first got tapped to be on the steering committee, I said no. I said I want to be elected. I did not rerun this year because I moved to South Carolina. But it has been a dream of me to see somebody elected to something at this organization. And I think this is so amazing. And I turn it over to Dean to make the announcement.
Great. Yeah, thank you once again to everyone who participated. It's really, really important. Like Corey alluded to, this is really, and Adam, that is really belongs to everyone. So participation is very important. So the results are, we'd like to, first of all, re-welcome Tony Bogan back to the committee. And we'd like to, very proud to announce and welcome Alex Jaycox to the committee, our newest member. So congratulations to both of them. And we know they're going to do help us do great things. Tony, as always, and Alex has always been an asset and a great help to everything we've done for a long time. So we're going to benefit even more with him being on the committee now. So Alex, would you like to? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Alex, would you like to say anything?
Sure. So I just wanted to say thanks to everybody. First of all, I feel like VCF as a whole, and that includes the entire organization, is really a second home to me. I found this organization back in 2011 after seeing discussion on Eric's board, which I had been part of for quite a long time at that point, and hearing about people talking about this thing called March that wasn't very far away from me, being a native Marylander. And I came here and I was immediately welcomed. And I felt like for the first time, I found a bunch of folks that were really into what I was into. So I immediately started thinking, oh, well, what can I do to help? And I hope I'll be able to continue to do that as a member of the advisory committee. I'm lucky enough that my wife is the brains of our operation. She is actually she's a professional museum person. She was a museum curator until we moved away from the Eastern Shore of Maryland herself. So she's been giving me lots of advice that I've been feeding to all the folks in membership and passing along with. Basically, there's nothing coming from my brain. It's all coming from the smart person. But anyway, I'm really passionate about seeing the growth of ECF. I would love to see us work more with some of the other museums, as I've mentioned, and some of things like the inventory project and the incredible work that Adam has been coordinated with the cleanup, and then some of the work that folks have been working on for a long time, like Jeff Jonas. I don't know if he's on the call with us, but he spent so much time organizing the museum over many years, and it's just anything I can do to enable those folks and help do that, I'm happy to do.
Thank you, Alex. I think I saw Tony. Are you there, Tony?
Hello.
I think
I
it's
am.
time for your acceptance speech.
Well, my original acceptance speech was, "You like me. You really like me." I'll be honest with you. When I found out that I had been, I want to say reelected. We weren't technically elected to the seat the first time, but you get my point. Put back in the same seat again. And usually nobody puts me in my place, but Adam put me in my place for sure. It was great to know that so many of the members that voted had the confidence in the work that I've been trying to do over the years to put me back in this position. So that was the best part about it, was being able to sit there and not only to be able to have Alex now part of the steering committee too, and the best part of all was not having Adam as part of the steering committee. Did I say that out? Or shit, I was supposed to mute my mic. Darn it. No, seriously.
Don't worry.
Yeah, right. It was really good to be able to go from Adam to Alex. And it had been Ian, had it been Jason, had it been Dave McGuire, who I just got to see yesterday, who was up here at the warehouse. There was like a win-win-win-win-win. You know, it was one of those situations where when Dave and I were talking, probably about 2 weeks ago, he looked and he said, "Yeah, that'd be really cool to have Ian. Boy, Alex is a really nice guy. But what'd be cool is I don't really know Jason as well, but I'd love to see Jason." And I was kind of in the same boat. So the acceptance speech is while I look nothing like Sally Field, just go, "You like me right now. You really like me." And that was sufficient. I'm really psyched to be able to. I'm going to keep doing the same stuff I was doing anyway. The difference is now I won't have to be in a situation of asking a steering committee member to propose it to the steering committee. I can do it right then and there and say, "Hey guys, what do you think?" And of course, that was one of the beauties of the steering committee, was with 5 of us and then with Jeff and Corey chiming in with their feelings on stuff. And if it was board level things, their approval for it. It was so cool to be able to say, "What do you think? You think it's good? You think it's good? Go, let's go do it." And that's one of the things that Alex is going to find out is fantastic, of being able to. It's a chain of command, but you're directly involved in the chain of command, as opposed to being the private and having to ask for permission to go speak to the boss. It's so nice to actually have a group of people working together, and you can all say, "Yes, we like that idea. Just go do it." That's it.
I think I'll put you both on the spot. I will tell you, one of my experiences with the steering committee was that one of the greatest things about it is we disagreed a lot. And we hashed it out, and Tony and I are still friends despite it all. At least I think we are, Tony. So let me put you both on the spot and ask what you would like to see different this time next year.
So I guess I'll just go back to the point that I made earlier. I just want to see us doing what we've been talking about in this call already, which is the extensive cooperation with the other museums. We obviously have a great relationship with Bob, with System Source, with Dave McGuire at the LSSM, and obviously with the Vintage Computing Museum in California. So we would like to establish even more relationships. For example, we have folks over at the Rhode Island Computer Museum we could work with, and we have a number of university computer museums that are not far away and things like that. So there's a lot of outreach that we do. So the more folks we work with, the more we make this clear that this is a hobby that brings everyone in, that everyone should share in, everyone has information. Thank you, Eric, who just pointed out that I left out my friend Bill Degnan and Kennett Classic, who's right nearby. So sorry about that. But yeah, it's just we have so many very important museums in the area, and we all benefit from all of us collaborating. So I think that'd be the thing that I'd like to improve.
And I'll let Tony answer as well, but I was going to ask him to talk a little bit about the deal we're working with the home computer museum in the Netherlands.
Ah, yes, they're not so close by, but still a nice deal. I actually just posted to my Instagram account the Apple II that I'm donating to them. The idea was to reach out to as many places and as many people as we possibly could that were kind of in the same vein as what we're doing, obviously looking more towards vintage computing than anything, but not necessarily just vintage computing. And the Home Computer Museum in the Netherlands kind of stepped up to the plate and said, hey, we'd love to be working with you, and can you help us out with some of our English translation stuff, which Adam has done, getting involved with Facebook and Instagram. And then one thing led to another, and it was, hey, would you guys happen to have an Apple II Plus? And of course, Adam and I looked at each other. No, we don't have an Apple II Plus. We only have about 20 Apple II Pluses. And then about 4 other people chimed in and said, yeah, I have 20 as well, and I have 20. And it just, Euro Pluses were over there, but not the 2 Plus. So we went and found one that was in good shape in the warehouse. I took it home, fixed it up, cleaned it beautifully. That's the first machine getting sent over. Then they asked about an Apple II and a Macintosh. So I have, being the Apple guy that I am, I've got an original Apple II that is now ready to be packed up and shipped to them. I still have to work on the 512K. And in return, we decided on, I know it was an XD Sorcerer, and I don't remember the name of the other machine. It was an actual machine from their home country that and we're doing a swap. So we're going to get a couple machines we don't have, and they're going to get a couple machines that they don't have. So things going to take a little longer, obviously, to get back and forth with COVID shipping across the planet, but it was a really cool first step, and they're great guys, and they're really diehards. They're really jumping into this full bore. And Adam can speak to that a little more too. Do you remember the computer, Adam, the other one that they're?
I just remember it was specifically a Dutch computer.
Right, yeah.
It might be a tool, but I'm not sure.
Right, definitely something we don't have.
Yeah, Dean's saying it's a tulip. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea was I was talking with the head of the Home Computer Museum over social media stuff, and he was bemoaning all these extra computers he had. And I'm like, wait, we don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have that. He's like, but what I really need is an Apple II Plus. Oh, well, we have that. And of course, the nature of the geography is that we're collecting all the stuff that was in the US, and they're collecting all the stuff that was in Europe. And it seemed like a perfect solution. It's like, okay, we've got all these extra computers that we want to give a good home. You've got all these extra computers that we want to have a good home. Let's make a swap. So hopefully the first of many, many things to happen. And the nice thing is they only deal in home computers, so we can ship almost anything.
Right. Yeah, we don't have to worry about getting the IBM System 3 over to the Netherlands.
Any thoughts on where you want us to be next year?
Yeah, I want to see us be in a position where the warehouse is in active mode of becoming museum/warehouse. I've so many people have put so much time into working in the warehouse, not the least of which was you, Adam, who even still, not even being here in South Carolina, you still got me beat in hours spent working in that warehouse. But I'm catching up. But I put a lot of time and a lot of effort, most of it with you while you were here, of course, trying to get the place more organized, trying to get things cleaned up. Happened to have a relative who is a contractor, so he reached out to different contractors, electricians and drywall guys and demo guys. So that's how we got the first set of estimates for doing the work. That might not be who we end up using, but the point was get the professionals come in and say, what do you want to do? Okay, here's what it would cost if I was doing it. And then we go from there. And knowing that it's going to be a little while before we get the money. Well, if it's a year or two from now, the estimates will no longer be valid, of course, but at least it gave us a good starting point. But having spent so much time with that, we've now got a great working relationship. Young lady that I dealt with, who's the assistant town administrator for Wall. So now I've got a direct connection to the township. I'm quote unquote the official VCF liaison to InfoAge and Wall Township now. So, I'm always part of the operations meetings like Jeff and Evan and others have been over the years. Even Bill Indereden's been to some of them. So being involved at the InfoAge level and, spoken with Mike and the management at InfoAge, and they have no problems with pushing, we're going to start working towards doing a 10-year lease as opposed to the 5-year leases that had been in the past. which was one of the things we all said we wanted to do. They know that the work can't start on the warehouse until the roof is 100%, which it is not currently 100%. So Pat Flanagan, that does all the repair work and everything at InfoAge, is working with the roof contractor that originally put the roof on a little over 10 years ago. So it's starting, but it's also in the infant stages. And I really would like to see us at a point where, guess what? Next Festivus, the demo started on this section, or the roof, whatever it was, a positive step beyond finding out what it's going to cost and finding out what we need and actually starting to do it.
Okay, thank you, Tony. We have a great question that I think I'm going to direct to Eric Klein. Eric Rangel is asking, is there any information about DigiBarn?
Sorry, one more time.
The question is there any info about DigiBarn?
No, unfortunately, I haven't heard anything back.
Oh.
So I could actually.
You want to give everybody a brief commentary on what happened?
Yeah, what's the backstory on that?
So there, I think you probably are well aware from national news that California is subject to fire. We've got, well, we're basically a constituted desert. And we've got PG&E out here who doesn't really believe in maintaining their lines. So we get a lot of fires ignited from, basically bad electrical. And then there's also lightning and other stuff that happens during our dry season. The DigiBarn's up in the Santa Cruz Mountains and is definitely in the fire zone. And they had a really close call over the summer. So when the fire was approaching, there were a bunch of people that ran up there and rescued a bunch of equipment. And Bruce Damer realized that, basically he's putting a lot of really impressive artifacts at risk by keeping them up in the middle of a fire zone. So he's looking to offload good chunks of his collection out of the barn. And I'm just not sure where the status of that is, who's getting what, where it's going. I know that the Computer History Museum is interested in some of the stuff. I know that we're interested in some of the stuff. I mean, he's got some really impressive equipment in there, including, if I remember correctly, a good chunk of a Cray 2, Cray 1, and a bunch of other really important equipment. So short answer is I haven't really heard enough back to do anything with it. I will ping Bruce again.
Yeah, and for those who may not know, Bruce has been collecting before people were collecting, and he has one of the best collections. I run across him anytime you do any research on a Xerox Star. You go straight to Bruce, and so this is. I actually went to UC Santa Cruz, which also almost burnt, and so I watched the fires very carefully. And if you haven't seen the damage that was done, there's no precedent that's ever happened. So thank you, Eric.
Crazy.
More
Sorry.
questions for either our new steering committee members or returning steering committee members, or really for anybody here on the call. Going once?
Well, I guess on that same vein, have we heard anything about the Living Computer Museum in Washington?
Eric, do you want to, I thought Bob would be better, but I guess that you're the
Or can we speak to it?
And most of what I've got is secondhand through Mike, but all I know is that the Vulcan, which is the parent organization over the museum, has decided to shut down the museum. They've laid off all of the staff and they've locked the doors. The staff went and basically put everything in preservation mode. They shut down the machines and did what they needed to make them last longer without attention. And Vulcan is now responsible and has been unresponsive with regards to what they're planning on doing. We don't know if they're going to reopen the museum. We don't know if they're going to find new owners for the museum. We don't know if they're going to spin them off as an independent entity. It's just completely opaque to us at this point.
Yeah, the secondhand information I've been hearing is that the problem isn't so much that they do or do not want LCM, is that it's not even on the radar. That there's so much money. The sister inherited Paul Allen's money. Paul Allen sadly did not dot his I's and cross his T's, and she is not necessarily following his wishes. But those weren't documented well. And this, from a perspective of the wealth she's dealing with, is a fraction of a fraction, and it's not even on her radar. It's not. She won't even engage in a conversation about it. It's not even that it's being intentionally shut down or not shut down. So, somebody give me a positive question. We've got fires and deaths. Somebody end on it. Give me a softball.
They give you something uplifting, upbeat, right?
I have to go to work in about 10 minutes.
Well, I think that is the sign to move on. I think
Well,
we need to
So, something that is upbeat is that we are all able to be here on this call right now. So
There you go.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
perfect segue into our toasting, right?
Exactly.
and-
Thank you.
And another thing is, I'm not sure if we've had some losses to our group over the past few years. And I don't think we've had a loss in our group this year, as I recall. So thank God everyone is, exactly, knock on. So I just want to, say, thank you to everyone for being cautious and careful and healthy so that we didn't lose another friend, right? That's the best thing to say. Obviously, we wish we all could be in person, but the reality is we can't. But we can plan an even bigger party next year. The one thing I do want to really give a shout out to the steering committee was, obviously I know about the plans that were set up for East that had to be canceled. And we were on track to having the biggest, most awesome VCF East ever. And I only hope we can do 80% of what we had in the plans in the next in-person one, because it was going to really be amazing. So I did want to say a big thank you to Jeff Brace, who's the showrunner for that show, and the steering committee, who really, we're working really hard to do that show. And while I say that, I don't want to forget Eric and VCF West. As everyone knows, I hop in a plane and I go to VCF West, and it is a blast. And the only really cool thing, as I can say, is since we didn't have a real in-person show this year, but last year we had one hell of a show, bringing in probably the largest gathering of early Apple employees that had been around in a long time. And, it was really cool to see everyone, people who hadn't seen each other in years, were all just popping in and saying hi to each other. It was pretty amazing.
How many Apple ones were there? Was it 10?
Total, I think we're 17 or 18.
yeah, about what percentage of the remaining population?
20, about 20%, if not more, had made their way through. At any one point, I think we had 11 or so going, and we had more running than had ever been running before in one place since the burn-in time in the Steve Jobs garage, right? Because everyone knows that they basically put those machines in these burn-in boxes and let them run for a day or two. And that was the last time so many had been turned on all at once in the same room. So it was pretty amazing. And at least I have that memory to hold me over till the next year of in-person. But, it's, I was actually even hoping to go to Italia this year in person. And then obviously COVID came and smacked us all down. So I want to thank everyone for joining the call today, so we at least can see you. If anyone's wondering, I'm going to say it now, why some people are wearing masks on camera. And they're like, wait a second, why are you wearing a mask on camera? It's because they're actually within the rules that are allowed in New Jersey. They are actually at InfoAge. So they're all around. You can see them spaced out from each other. And I want to thank those guys for coming in. So
We don't want to point out the secondary reason we put Jeff in a mask, right?
Exactly. Mom addresses him funny. I want to say yesterday I met the first person.
Everyone's benefit.
Yesterday I met the first person who must be the same height as Jeff. It was pretty scary. So Anyway, so thank you, everyone. And thank you, Eek, the tech support guy, the tech support chicken. Yeah, we got Eek and Baby
Eek and Mini Eek.
Mini
Okay,
Eek and
we
Mini
put
Eek.
it over to you, Dean.
It's all right. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Corey. Just as one final note, as a reminder, 2 seats on the committee will be open again this year. We'll be doing the election again. So I'd like for everybody to think about that. And
Can we kick Andy off twice?
So whose seats are up?
Seats are up. It would be me, and it would be Chris. Yeah, because Andy was the last one in, right? So yeah, it would be me and Chris this year. So those seats are up. Spread the
I thought
word.
I was the last one in.
What's that?
I thought I was the last one in.
No, Andy was the last one in.
Yeah, you got Evan's seat when it was abandoned, right?
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
So,
figure it out.
Yep. Everyone think about it. Whether you want to nominate. Oh yeah. And whether you want to nominate someone or run yourself, it's very important. So we appreciate everyone's participation. All right. So with that, the last thing on the agenda was the Festivus Toast. So I've been given the honor of giving that this year.
Keep it family friendly, please.
I'm sorry, Corey?
Family friendly, please.
Family friendly? I got to, no, that's it.
We don't want to get demonetized on YouTube.
Exactly.
So keep it clean.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been a very challenging years in a lot of ways. We're dealing with COVID, all the things that go with it. It's changing everything: how we work, how we play, how we go to school, how we interact with friends and family, even how we operate here. I don't think any of us would have imagined that, a year ago, that our lives would be affected to the extent that they are now. Yet here we all are, with our shared passion here for vintage computing. And, I can't say enough about the level of care and interest and work that everyone involved has put in. So I really appreciate that. And I've said before that VCF members are absolutely the lifeblood of this organization. All the good things that happen in VCF are because of our membership. All the input, the feedback, the care, and the support of our mission. VCF would not be here and would not be what it is today without everyone that's here today in our membership. And I'm really grateful to have been able to be a part of it for all this time. So here's to the VCF family and the better days ahead. May everyone find health and peace now in the new year. Thank you.
Man.
So everyone knows the rubber chicken also dates back to, we used to give them out. We gave them out as a prize one year for like best in show. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
So,
I have
so I have, I'm going to do a random idea. So Festivus is not supposed to be an organized event where we just talk and we have presentations, things like that. It's supposed to be a social thing. If I understand correctly, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, does not Google now have breakout rooms?
Yes.
Jeff, can we like just randomly break out people and then have a social thing and people leave when they want to leave?
Yeah.
Does that sound like a plan?
Good, I'm leaving. Later.
Yeah, we can stay on the Google Meet. We'll just end the stream, right? And
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, you can do that.
Right?
Yep.
I think that makes sense. So we should all say goodbye, and then I'll wrap up the stream, but stay on the Meet if you're interested. How's that sound?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
We're not offended.
Thank you to everyone who was on the
Yeah.
YouTube stream.
Yeah.
Very highly appreciated.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Have a wonderful, happy, and a healthy new year.
Yep.
And be safe.
Goodbye,
Happy
everyone.
Happy Comic-Consumus.
Click on Zombie Apocalypse. Click on Zombie Apocalypse. Click on Zombie Apocalypse. Click on Zombie Apocalypse.